Have you ever walked away from a conversation with that heavy knot in your chest, wondering why someone thought it was acceptable to cut you off, to sneer at your choices, to treat your presence as if it were optional? Disrespect doesn't always come in shouts or slammed doors. More often, it slips in quietly, a sarcastic remark dressed as humor, an interruption that signals you don't matter, a silence meant to belittle rather than honor. I've seen it, and I've felt it. People testing the edges of your patience, pushing against your dignity just to see if you will bend. And for too long, many of us do. We smile to keep the peace, swallow our words to avoid conflict, and convince ourselves it's nothing. But deep down, you know it is something. Each small cut takes a toll. The Stoics taught that respect is not something we beg for, it's something we embody, something we protect by how we carry ourselves. So the question is, how do you hold your ground without losing your calm? Stay with me, because what comes next might change the way you meet disrespect forever. As we step into the first chapter, picture this. A room full of voices clashing, one voice louder than the rest, cutting through every attempt you make to speak. You sit there, patient, waiting for your turn, but it never comes. This is the battlefield of respect. Not with swords, not with fists, but with words that suffocate and gestures that dismiss. And here is where the silent stare enters. A weapon that requires no movement, no sound, only the kind of calm that unnerves the restless. Imagine it. Someone mocks, someone interrupts, someone tries to pull you into their storm. Most people expect you to stumble, to laugh nervously, to snap back in anger. They feed on that energy, on the small cracks in your composure. But what happens when you refuse? When instead of breaking, you lean back, cross your arms, and let your eyes hold steady. No blink, no flinch, just silence, sharp as a blade. That's when the balance shifts. Suddenly, they are no longer in control. They are exposed in the mirror of your calm. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." The stare embodies that wisdom. You don't descend to their chaos. You remain anchored, untouched. The stare is not aggression, it is refusal. A refusal to play their game, a refusal to let their noise reach the core of who you are. It says without words, "I am present, I am unshaken, I am not yours to provoke." Let me take you into a moment I will never forget. A meeting, ordinary on the surface, but beneath it, a quiet war. One man, loud, arrogant, cutting across my sentences as though my presence were decoration. I tried civility. I tried patience. He ignored both. Finally, I stopped. I leaned back, folded my arms, and met his gaze. 5 seconds of silence stretched into eternity. The air grew heavy. Others in the room turned their heads, curious, waiting. And then he faltered. His words stumbled. His eyes darted away. He never interrupted me again. Not that day. Not in the weeks that followed. Respect was born, not through argument, but through presence. This is why the silent stare matters. It is more than a tactic. It is a lesson. Too often we believe we must defend, explain, or yield to keep peace. But peace bought by surrender is not peace. It is slow erosion. The stare teaches you otherwise. It teaches that you do not owe anyone a reaction. You do not owe anyone your energy. You do not owe anyone proof of your worth. Sometimes the most powerful no is delivered without a single syllable. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." How much time have we wasted explaining ourselves to those determined not to listen? How much energy poured into the bottomless pit of someone else's insecurity? The stare reclaims wasted energy and forces them into silence they cannot escape. I once used to laugh off rude comments, brushing them aside with nervous humor. I thought that was strength. I thought ignoring insults with a smile meant I had won, but inside, the laugh was hollow. It drained me, it bent me, it left me doubting my own dignity. It was only when I learned to hold still, to stare without apology, that I discovered a deeper form of strength. A quiet defiance that whispered, "I will not bend for you." There is an alchemy in that moment. The silence doesn't just disarm them, it strengthens you. It affirms to your own soul that their chaos cannot touch your center. Each time you hold the stare, you remind yourself that your worth is not for negotiation. You stand taller inside, even while sitting still. Think of it as an echo. Most people who disrespect do so unconsciously, almost as habit. No one ever confronted them. No one ever reflected their behavior back to them. When you stare, when you give them nothing but their own behavior to face, the echo appears, and echo can be brutal. They see themselves, and often they do not like what is reflected. But let's be clear, the silent stare is not about vengeance. It is not about making someone small. It is about making yourself whole. It is about refusing to shrink just because someone else cannot see your full height. It is about preserving your dignity without a single wasted word. Picture yourself in the next storm of disrespect. Someone raises their voice. Someone mocks your choices. Someone talks over your silence. You breathe. You ground yourself. You meet their eyes. You hold still. Time slows. The room shifts. Suddenly the weight is not on your shoulders, but on theirs. That is the essence of Stoic power, strength without noise, authority without demand. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The silent stare is not even a reaction. It is the refusal of reaction. It is the declaration that you are not owned by the moment. You remain sovereign over your emotions, your energy, your peace. That is power. That is respect. So here is the truth. The silent stare is not just for them, it is for you. It is the act of looking inward through the outward gaze. It is telling yourself that no one, no matter how loud, no matter how cutting, can touch what you refuse to give. And when you master that, disrespect becomes nothing more than noise against the fortress of your calm. This is not a trick. It is a practice. It is the art of presence, sharpened by stillness. Try it. In your next encounter with rudeness, resist the urge to explain, to argue, to defend. Just look, hold, breathe, and watch as the storm crumbles on its own. The silent stare is more than a glance. It is a shield. It is a boundary. It is self-respect turned visible. And once you learn to use it, you'll discover something profound. You no longer chase respect. You command it. From here, the journey deepens. For silence itself holds another secret. Sometimes the answer is not spoken at all. Moving into the second chapter, imagine a moment when words are hurled like stones. A careless remark, a disguised insult, a passive-aggressive jab meant to pierce your composure. The air thickens. Every part of you wants to react, to explain, to defend. But instead, you choose something far more dangerous to the one who disrespects you. You choose silence. Now picture it. Their words hang in the air, waiting to ignite. But you don't feed the fire. You let it flicker out in the cold absence of your response. That pause becomes a mirror. They are left facing themselves, alone with the weight of what they said. And nothing unsettles a person more than realizing their strike didn't land. Silence is not surrender. It is strategy. It is restraint sharpened into steel. The Stoics knew this. Epictetus reminded us, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond. Silence is that choice. It looks passive on the surface, but it is the boldest refusal. It denies them entry into your inner world. It withholds the reaction they crave, and in that denial lies your authority. I remember one encounter that revealed this truth to me. There was a man, the type who cloaks cruelty in humor, always sliding in those little digs, as if mocking were his birthright. One day, in a group, he threw out a jab about my work. Nothing serious on the surface, but sharp enough to sting. In the past, I would have justified myself or fired back with a cutting remark. But that day, I didn't. I lifted an eyebrow. I let the silence bloom between us like a wall. No smile, no reply. Just nothing. His smirk faltered. His gaze dropped. The moment collapsed on him, and he never tried it again. That is the beauty of silence. It starves disrespect. It is famine to those who thrive on drama. When you withhold your energy, their game collapses. You don't lose power, you gain it. Because silence is not emptiness, it is presence. It says, I value my peace over your noise. I value my dignity over your approval. And in that moment, you stop being their target and start being their teacher. But here's the deeper truth. Choosing silence is not just for them, it is for you. It filters what enters your spirit. It blocks the poison at the gate. Every time you resist the urge to explain yourself, every time you let the white noise of insults pass without a reply, you reclaim a piece of your strength. You become lighter, stronger, more rooted. I used to believe silence meant weakness, that if I didn't respond, I'd be seen as fragile or afraid. But the opposite was true. Each time I reacted, I left drained, replaying the conversation in my head, feeding resentment long after the moment had ended. When I learned to let the words die on their own, I felt free. I realized silence was not weakness, it was mastery. Think of silence as a shield. It guards your mind from the arrows of petty insults. It keeps your energy intact. It forces you to remain the author of your own story. Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Silence is the practice of that realization. It is the active refusal to let outside events dictate the weather inside your soul. Try this the next time you face disrespect. Don't rush to answer. Don't scramble to prove your worth. Breathe, look them in the eye, and give them nothing. Watch the discomfort crawl across their face. Watch the energy shift in the room. And more importantly, watch how steady you feel inside. Silence is not emptiness. It is presence. It declares your peace is beyond negotiation. So when words are thrown like darts, don't catch them. Don't bleed for someone else's insecurity. Stand still. Let them fall. Because sometimes the most powerful voice you have is the one that chooses not to speak. And as this chapter closes, remember this. Silence is not absence. It is presence at its most unshakable. It is the sound of a soul refusing to bow. And from here, we move toward the next lesson, why explaining yourself is not the answer, and why freedom begins where justification ends. Advancing to the third chapter, imagine the moment someone leans in with that familiar tone, the one wrapped in false concern, but sharpened by judgment. Why did you do that? Why didn't you go? Why would you leave something safe? Their eyes carry the weight of expectation, as though your life were a courtroom and you stand on trial. You feel the pull to explain, to justify, to lay out every reason like a shield. And yet, deep inside, you know the truth. Your choices were never theirs to approve. This is where the tension lies. The world is full of voices demanding explanation. Every step outside the herd, every decision that challenges the comfort of others becomes suspect. And in that moment, your instinct whispers, defend yourself. But the Stoics remind us that freedom is found in what we do not tie to others. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. He wasn't praising ignorance. He was teaching liberation. Liberation from the endless cycle of proving yourself to those who will never truly listen. Now imagine your life as a canvas, one that only you can paint. Every stroke, every risk, every change of color belongs to you. Yet people gather around with their brushes, eager to add their shades, to question your palette. They don't want to understand, they want to bend you back into the lines they find familiar. And when you explain, you hand them the brush. You let them edit the picture of your own life. The cost is heavy. The canvas no longer reflects your vision. It becomes a compromise, half theirs, half yours, and fully unsatisfying. I remember this weight clearly. I left a stable career, one that looked perfect on paper but felt hollow in the heart. I wanted to step into something riskier, something that mattered to me. The moment I shared the decision, the questions rained down like arrows. Why would you throw away security? How are you going to survive? Isn't that foolish? At first, I tried to explain. I spoke of passion, of plans, of the long nights I had thought it through. But the more I explained, the less they believed. Every detail became another hook to hang doubt upon. And each explanation chipped away at my confidence, leaving me second-guessing what I already knew was right. Then, one day, I tried something different. A question came. Why would you leave a stable job? I smiled, breathed, and said simply, because I wanted to. Silence followed, a silence thicker than any argument. They blinked, fumbled, and changed the subject. That was it. In that moment, the power shifted. My life was no longer on trial. My choice was enough because I claimed it as enough. That is the heart of it. When you stop explaining, you reclaim yourself. You tell the world without words, my life is not a public service announcement. My decisions do not need a panel of judges. My path is mine, and that is reason enough. Marcus Aurelius wrote, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. And in the same way, waste no more time explaining why your choices matter. Live them, embody them. That is where your authority lies. There is also a deeper layer here. People who demand explanations often do so because your courage exposes their fear. Your willingness to risk reveals their own hesitation. Your step outside the line threatens the comfort of their cage. And so, by asking why, they are not seeking knowledge. They are seeking reassurance that their smallness is justified. But their fear is not your responsibility. You are not here to soothe them by shrinking yourself. Think about the people you most admire. Do they hold press conferences to explain every step of their lives? Or do they walk, unshaken, knowing that their direction needs no approval? True confidence doesn't explain, it moves. It leaves no space for interrogation. It radiates clarity, even when others call it madness. I used to prepare entire presentations for my choices, metaphorical PowerPoints, detailed scripts of why I did what I did, hoping to win support. But I realized something hard and liberating at once. The more I explained, the more I invited doubt. Explanations don't silence critics, they feed them, because the more reasons you give, the more reasons they find to tear apart. So I made a pact with myself. Answer briefly, if at all. A sentence, maybe two. And if they press, I smile and move on. And in that shift, I found lightness. I found strength. Seneca wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." The trial here is not the judgment of others. It is the temptation to betray yourself through endless justification. The polishing comes when you resist. When you hold your choices with quiet confidence, you emerge sharper, brighter, untouchable. So here is my challenge for you. The next time someone asks you to explain yourself, don't unravel your heart for their inspection. Don't hand over your vision like a fragile vase. Say instead, "Because I wanted to," or "It felt right to me." Then leave it at that. Let the silence carry the weight. Watch how the power shifts when you no longer dance for their approval. Watch how free you feel when you walk away without the chains of explanation. This is the discipline of sovereignty. It is not arrogance, it is clarity. It is knowing that your life is a story only you are meant to author. And the moment you stop explaining, you start living as the main character, not the defendant. The truth is simple. Your choices are valid because they are yours, and the day you stop explaining them is the day you begin to live them fully. Stand in that truth, own it, and prepare, because what comes next may demand even more. Sometimes the only way to protect that truth is by creating distance from those who will never honor it. Here's where the fourth chapter unfolds, and the truth is sharper than many want to admit. Sometimes the most powerful act of self-respect is not in confrontation, not in clever comebacks, but in quiet, deliberate distance. Think of it like walking away from a fire that has burned you too many times. You don't hate the flame, you don't curse it. You simply recognize that if you keep reaching toward it, it will consume you. Distance is not bitterness, distance is clarity. Now imagine your life as a sanctuary, a limited space, a temple built of your energy, your time, your attention. Not everyone deserves to enter. Not everyone who knocks on the door should be welcomed in. Yet so often we throw the gates open wide, even to those who come only to criticize, to drain, to diminish. They stroll in without gratitude, without awareness, taking up your seats, eating at your table, speaking in ways that leave you smaller than before. And then you wonder why you feel heavy, anxious, depleted. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If the colors around you are gray, sharp, and bitter, how long before they stain your own soul?" Keeping your distance is not cruelty, it is preservation. It is saying to yourself, my peace is not negotiable. My mind is not public property. My energy is not an endless well for those who refuse to respect it. I remember a friend who seemed harmless at first. He was witty, quick with words, but his humor always came with a sting. Snide remarks about my work, little jabs about my choices, even jokes about the music I liked, as if tearing down every small thing I valued was his way of establishing superiority. At first I brushed it off. That's just who he is, I told myself. Maybe I'm too sensitive. So I stayed close. I tolerated. I smiled through it. But over time, the weight grew. I noticed I was walking on eggshells around him, bracing myself before every interaction, waiting for the next jab disguised as a joke. It wasn't friendship. It was erosion. Piece by piece, it chipped away at my peace. Until one day, something shifted. I didn't confront him with anger. I didn't demand apologies. I simply began to limit my time. Once a week became once a month. I gave myself space, and in that space, I felt lighter, freer, clearer. I could finally see that what I had been calling friendship was actually slow poison. That's the beauty of distance. It brings vision. When you are no longer immersed in the fog of manipulation, guilt, or habit, you begin to see reality as it is. And the reality was simple. I deserved better. But here's the obstacle. The moment you pull back, society whispers in your ear. Isn't that selfish? They're family. You've known them for years. You can't just step away. As if time itself justifies torment, as if blood or history excuses disrespect. But tell me, what good is loyalty if it destroys your dignity? What good is history if it chains you to people who cannot see your worth? Seneca once said, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. That is the measure. Not lineage, not longevity, only the quality of the soul beside you." Protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's necessary. You are not here to be anyone's emotional punching bag. You are not here to be the endless source of validation for people who refuse to grow. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself, and yes, even for them, is to step back. Keeping your distance sends a message, not to them, but to you. It says, "I am my own priority. I do not exist to play the role others assign me. I do not owe unlimited access to my mind, my time, my emotions." Stepping back is a declaration. My well-being comes first. That is not weakness. That is sovereignty. Think of the moments when you forced yourself to stay close to people who drained you. Remember how you felt afterward. Tired, small, resentful. That is the cost of proximity to those who disrespect you. And every time you pay that cost, you teach yourself a dangerous lesson, that your comfort matters less than keeping the peace. But peace bought with self-betrayal is not peace. It is surrender. I once struggled deeply with guilt when creating distance. I thought, what if they think I don't care? What if I'm being unfair? But over time, I learned something crucial. Guilt is often the weapon of those who benefit from your lack of boundaries. They call it selfishness because your absence exposes their dependence on your compliance. But what is truly selfish? Protecting your peace, or demanding someone sacrifice theirs so you can remain comfortable. When I began choosing distance, life grew lighter. Energy returned. My mind was sharper. My days were filled with people who respected, encouraged, and uplifted. The shift wasn't small, it was seismic. Because when you close the door to those who diminish you, you open space for those who value you. Let me give you an image. Imagine your life as a garden. Some plants nurture you, they shade you, feed you, bloom beautifully beside you. Others are weeds. They choke the soil, drink all the water, and leave nothing behind. The more weeds you tolerate, the less the garden thrives. Keeping your distance is not about hating the weeds. It's about pulling them out so the flowers have room to grow. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, the tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think, or do. Only what you do. Distance allows that tranquility. It removes the noise so you can hear yourself again. So here is my challenge to you. Take inventory. Think of the people who constantly disrespect you, the ones who cut you down, make you feel small, or drain you until you can't breathe. Then ask yourself honestly, do they deserve this much access to me? Do they deserve the front row seat in my life? Your answer will tell you what to do, because distance is not abandonment. It is alignment. It is placing yourself where respect is possible and removing yourself from where it is not. And in doing so, you remind yourself of something vital. You are worthy of relationships that honor who you are. So don't let guilt hold you hostage. Don't let history trap you in disrespect. Step back. Protect your peace. Because sometimes the bravest act of love for yourself and ultimately for others is creating space. And once you claim that space, you will be ready for the next step. To not only walk away, but to walk tall. To hold your head high in every room, every encounter, every moment, so that disrespect no longer bends you, even when it comes close. Entering the 5th chapter, picture this. Someone stands before you, armed not with fists, but with smirks and words sharpened into little blades. Their goal is simple. They want you to lower your gaze, to slouch, to shrink into yourself. They want to see your spirit bend beneath the weight of their ridicule. That is the battlefield they have chosen. And yet, in that very moment, you hold a weapon older and sharper than their cruelty. You lift your head, you stand tall, you let your posture speak for you, and suddenly, without a word, the war is over. Now imagine the look in their eyes when you don't flinch, when you refuse to let their insults rearrange the way you carry yourself. Confidence unsettles those who rely on disrespect. It disrupts their illusion of control. They thrive on the hope that their words can pierce you, that their gestures can fold you inward. But when you remain upright, when your chin is lifted and your eyes meet theirs with calm certainty, something happens. They begin to question their own power, not yours. The energy flips. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Holding your head high is the physical embodiment of that truth. You show the world that no external force, not their sarcasm, not their contempt, not their dismissive tone, can reach the center of who you are. Your strength is internal, and it radiates outward in the way you carry your body. I remember facing someone who loved to play this game. Every encounter came with small, cutting remarks, always with a smirk, always disguised as casual humor. At first, I brushed it off. I laughed along, but truthfully, it wore me down. I dreaded being near him because I felt like I had to constantly defend myself, constantly prove that his words didn't touch me, and yet they did. Until one day, I made a decision. I showed up differently, shoulders back, eyes steady, head high. And when the usual insult came, I didn't explain, didn't snap, didn't retreat. I simply looked at him, smiled faintly, and carried on as if nothing had landed. And you know what happened? He backed off. The smirk faltered. The game ended. His power dissolved. Not because I fought harder, but because I refused to bow. That is the magnetism of true confidence. It acts like a force field. It tells the world, I am untouchable. And that message terrifies those who seek to control you. They want to live in a world where you are beneath them, where your worth depends on their approval. But when you walk tall, you tear that illusion apart. It is almost offensive to them. How dare you refuse to play their game? How dare you live as though their opinion doesn't define you? But here is the secret. It doesn't, and it never did. Society itself struggles with people who hold their head high. People who are unapologetically certain of their worth are often labeled arrogant, difficult, even threatening. Why? Because they refuse to shrink. They refuse to be molded into someone else's idea of who they should be. And in a world addicted to conformity, that refusal is radical. But it is also necessary. When you hold your head high, you are not speaking to them. You are speaking to yourself. You are reminding your own soul that you are valuable, that you are enough, that no one's approval is required for you to walk with dignity. Self-worth is not something given to you like a gift. It is something you claim. You declare it with your presence. You embody it in your stance. And the more you practice this, the stronger it becomes. I was once the person who slouched under criticism, who avoided eye contact, who shrank when mocked. It felt safer to disappear, to make myself small, so no one had reason to attack. But disappearing did not protect me. It only confirmed to others that I was easy to diminish. Over time, I learned that every time I lifted my head, every time I carried myself as if I belonged, something inside me grew, a quiet strength, a voice that whispered, "You don't need their approval to exist. You already are enough." Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." If you crave the approval of those who disrespect you, you will always feel lacking. But when you hold your head high, you stop craving. You live as if you already have everything you need within. Because the truth is, you do. Walking with your head high is alignment, living as if your worth is unquestionable. And in that state, the insults of others barely register. They become background noise. You are too busy walking your own path, too secure in your own lane to be swayed by their attempts to drag you down. Here's my challenge to you. The next time you feel disrespected, whether it's a subtle dig or a direct insult, resist the urge to defend, to explain, to lash out. Instead, pause, breathe, straighten your spine, pull your shoulders back, keep your head high, meet their eyes with calm defiance. In that moment, you will feel something shift, a rush of confidence, a sense of peace, a realization that their words have no power unless you give it to them. Holding your head high is more than posture. It is philosophy in motion. It is stoicism made flesh. It is the silent declaration, "I know who I am. I value who I am. And nothing you say can change that." So stand tall, own your worth, respect yourself so fully that no disrespect from others can stick. Because at the end of the day, every battle for dignity begins with this one truth. Respect begins within, so ask yourself, will you claim it or let the world decide for you? And here we are at the closing of this lesson. The truth is simple yet powerful. Not everyone will understand your value, and not everyone is meant to. That is not a failure on your part. Life is far too precious to spend it shrinking, apologizing, or bending yourself for people who choose not to see you. What matters is the posture of your soul. When you hold your head high, when you choose silence over noise, when you refuse to explain or beg for respect, you show the world that you know exactly who you are. And that kind of strength speaks louder than any words. Yes, the world will try to test your boundaries. People will question your choices, push against your peace, and hope you break. But here is the gift the Stoics left us. You alone decide what you allow in. You alone set the standard for how you are treated. The more you cultivate self-respect, the more you will draw to you those who uplift and honor your worth, and the less power those who mock or belittle you will ever hold. So protect your space. Embrace silence when it serves you, and never apologize for walking away from what weakens your spirit. If this message gave you strength, I invite you to subscribe and stay with me for the lessons still to come. Share it with someone who needs this reminder, and in the comments, write just 2 words. Stand tall. Stay grounded. Stay unshaken. And let this be the beginning of the next chapter of your strength.